bathroom that was going on that made you decide to start beating the shit out of stuff inside the bathroom?
So I was punching the granite, or I guess marble tabletop close to your sink.
Oh, nice. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. I confirmed that it is definitely as solid. It will not break under moderate to light pressure.
Did you shit in my sink?
No, I shat my pants. So I was like sitting there, and I have this thing where I like to test my thresholds. So don't worry, it's not sexual. You just made this face like, oh God.
Yeah, I didn't know if I needed to start doing some stretches.
No. So pain, right? It's a part of being alive. And it's probably the most human thing that you can do is to be in pain. Because if you think about it, we're always chasing joy. If joy was a constant state that was inherent, we wouldn't be trying to obtain it. So the idea is that mental pain, emotional pain, and physical pain train you to be the human you need to be. So sometimes I intentionally hurt myself. Like, not like sad emo, like cut my body, but like sometimes if I know I could take some stairs instead of an elevator, I'll do that. Or sometimes...
How does this tie into you beating the shit out of my bathroom just now?
Because I wanted to understand the pain of punching hard concrete.
Of having to pay to remodel my bathroom?
Yeah.
I take checks and cash out.
Well, give me some time.
Anyway, that's ridiculous, but I understand exactly what you're saying. Anyway, so
that's retarded, but yes.
Yeah, that's literally the dumbest thing I've ever heard, but I digress.
I regress.
What do you want to do today, man? Let's click record and see what happens.
We haven't clicked record?
Yeah, I clicked record.
Oh.
I was trying to get all your babbling nonsense leading up to the...
Dude, that was some deep shit.
Yeah, it was pretty deep. Like your mom.
I borrowed that from the Tao Te Ching, from my studies of Epictetus, and a little bit of the Buddhism I studied. Epic titties, yes.
Yeah, there we go with the epic titties.
Epic titties.
What do you want to talk about today, man?
We have a few things that we had in queue.
Yeah, okay, just real quick. So the whole idea, we're steadily just we're playing around with audio, right? So we're doing like maybe multiple pilots that will someday be released as like maybe bonus episodes or whatever for the new podcast. But I think we're kind of experimenting with ideas, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think that we have a template, and the template is not much of a template. It's fluid, right?
Yeah.
But you have to still be interesting. So
yeah,
I think that the feedback we got from your wiferton last week was that we have to have a guideline. So we have some topics in queue without a script.
But like she's on TikTok all the time, man. Like she's like a teenager, right? Where her attention span is at most 20 seconds.
I hope that the mic caught my fart. I farted.
Oh my God, dude. Anyway.
Okay, so here's the thing about wives being teenagers. My wife loves TikTok.
Okay, so does mine.
No, yeah, well, not TikTok. I'm sorry, Instagram. TikTok she has to use for her business, but like Instagram is...
What the fuck is that?
That's a business call, sir.
Oh, do we need to hit pause?
It's Simon, pause it.
Oh, okay. And we're back.
I never left.
Do Mexican people always have to answer the phone in extremely Mexican ways?
No, I'm just trying hard to be Mexican. I'm like that guy that didn't bring a lot to the party, so I'm trying to point out what I did bring.
All right, so you literally don't speak any Spanish yet. When you answered the phone, you said...
¿Qué onda, wey?
Which means...
What's up, dude?
Are you sure?
Something like that.
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah. It means something along those lines. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's cool, man. It's like the Mexican waza.
Funny thing is, I actually speak and understand a little bit more Spanish than I give I give myself credit for. The problem is that I'm deathly terrified of trying to say it because I've been told I have an accent. I don't sound like a Mexican when I speak Spanish.
Sure.
So
I don't know, but like my friend from Germany doesn't sound like a Texan whenever he speaks English to me, but it's not that big of a deal.
Last time someone tried to speak English to me when they didn't sound Texan, I murdered them.
Oh, okay. Well, there's that. So this is more about your hang up with murdering. Yeah.
Make murder great again.
Can we go back to so Stacy said what?
We need to have a topic.
Okay. So I would also agree with that. I think, and I guess what we'll do is we'll just call this another brainstorm session that we're recording. I really enjoyed what Stacy and I did, which was what I was trying to get the Freak Show episodes on Patreon whenever we were doing a Patreon for Funtime Horror Show. I really like that. For if you don't remember, for those that y'all that aren't familiar with it, essentially Stacy would bring a topic, I would bring a topic, the other person didn't know what the topic was going to be about, and it was usually something messed up, but it was like also really light and fun. Matter of fact, I would really like to listen to like at least one of those tonight to see what you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we can record an intro for it and then we can release it as an archive.
Yeah, and then maybe we can use some baby oil.
Whoa, Diddy, calm down.
I'm sorry.
Diddy hashtag.
Diddly.
It's too soon, bro. It's too soon.
Too soon.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for all your holes.
So are you cool with that? You want to like listen to one of those that I really like doing with her and see if you're feeling it?
What if God was one of us?
Yeah, that's true.
No, yeah, I'm down. Let's do it.
Okay. Do you want to talk about anything else on this?
I mean,
you want to talk about the story I was telling about?
I think that is a good one. You should. So let's set it up. Let me set it up.
All right, go ahead.
So today we had a chingadera. And if you don't know what that is, that's a fucking thing.
You're so cute when you're being Mexican.
I'm
dude.
so cute.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to tell you the full details because then you're going to figure out where we're at and what we do for a living and like show up and it's going to be weird. So just suffice it to say that we all had to do an event together where we were in a kitchen setting. And so just imagine a bunch of dudes talking shit to each other early in the morning. And yeah, that's what was going down. And so as the banter is going on, somehow ass sex comes up. No, somehow prison experiences come up. And Tommy, I don't know if you know this or not, he used to be correctional
officer.
Yeah, he corrected some shit. So Tommy had a story, a very violent and gory story about a suicide watch he had to attend one time. Please take over.
Yeah, so a lot of people, I think the comment was that, I think it was something about like inmates, like we don't really say convict anymore. We called them offenders, which was like the politically correct term for people who are incarcerated in prison. But we'll just say inmates because everybody's familiar with that. So there was a comment about inmates and I said something about we're not there to punish them. Like somebody was saying something about like beating their asses or something like that. And I was like, no, that's not really the job of a correctional officer. Believe it or not, the correctional officer is employed to ensure the safety and security of the inmate. Like that's their primary role, right? So, with that said, I was working in a department called administrative segregation, and these were the people that were locked up for 23 hours a day. They were mainly confirmed gang members like Mexican Mafia, Aryan Brotherhood, Texas Syndicate, all that kind of stuff, right?
Goofy goobers.
Yeah, all of them. And like some people say, oh, was it like the Crips and Bloods too? No, it wasn't the Crips and Bloods because nobody officially really takes them as like legitimate threats.
Well, those are street sets. And then you have your prison gangs, which are like the street sets are the offshoot of the prison gangs, which are really running everything.
Yeah, a little bit. But like if you went in there like throwing up the Crips or the Bloods or something in prison, like a legitimate prison, especially in Texas, you'd probably get your fucking head cut off.
There's not a lot of Crips or Bloods out here.
There is, but it's just like nobody takes them as like a legitimate threat. And so these other guys are like legitimate threats to the safety and security of the other inmates and of the staff, right? So they lock them up for 23 hours a day. Now, in administrative segregation, there was 2 cell blocks and they went by letters. So it was like A through G, right? So A and B were the worst of the worst. A was like the worst. That's where you start. If you like assaulted a staff member or like if you were like did a prison rape or something like that, you would get put into protective custody, which is almost like solitary confinement, where you're basically just in a cell by yourself, like closed off from the rest of the people. Mm-hmm. An investigation happens, and then if you were found guilty, they would take you out of general population and put you in administrative segregation, and you would have to work your way up through the levels to get back to general population. So A-line was the worst, and I was called an A-line boss. That's what they call correctional officers. They call them bosses or whatever. And there was this one particular guy who was really crazy, and I guess I could tell 2 stories if you want.
1.5.
Or 1.5.
Yeah.
1.5. Like I'll tell one and then start telling the other one and then just stop.
Cliffhanger.
Without a conclusion
That's
ever.
It. That's it.
Yeah.
Blue balls.
Anyway, I was telling the guys about how I had to spend an entire 8-hour shift one day watching someone try to kill themselves. Essentially is what it was. That's actually exactly what it was. I literally I had to stand and shine a flashlight on this guy in his cell while I watched him try to kill himself for 8 hours. And the reason I had to do that was because my supervisor at the time didn't think he was really trying to kill himself, that he just wanted attention, or that he wanted to be shipped to the medical ward, because I guess it's a little cozier in there. And so he basically just told me he's not going to do anything to him, just keep an eye on him. So I sat there and watch him try to rip pieces of metal off of his cell, like off of his bunk and stuff, to stab himself with, try and cut in his wrist. And, after hours and hours and hours of rubbing yourself with, somewhat sharp metal, it starts to create a mess. A lot of superficial wounds, but thousands and thousands of these superficial wounds. So things start to get pretty messy. Excuse me. Let me get a drink of my Coke Zero. This episode brought to you by Coke Zero.
We want a sponsorship. We're worth it. All of our tens of listeners.
You know what they say about Coke Zero? All you need to do is pray the gay away.
I was praying you were gay.
Oh, thanks. So when that stuff wasn't working, he started to break a light bulb in his cell, and he was trying to use the metal in the light bulb to cut his wrist.
Jesus.
And he tried cutting his throat with it. And in Texas, like the inmates there, they were all white. So at this point, like things are turning like really red.
It was like a scene out of Scream and shit.
Yeah, a little bit. And I called the sergeant again. He's like, dude, he's not doing anything to himself. My supervisors are not helping me with
Your
this.
sergeant sounds a little callous.
Yeah, he was kind of a dick, to be honest with
So
you.
he's not cutting his head off, huh?
He's a lot like somebody else we know, where they were like super young and like walk around with his chest pumped out and stuff like that, and try to bang all the female correctional officers because he was hot shit. He was probably like 25 years old and a supervisor. I don't know. He might have been blowing the warden for all I know. But
you're not supposed to blow the warden?
So the whole light bulb thing wasn't working. So then he took the glass from the light bulb and he started trying to cut his wrist with that. And so he's digging and breaking off these like little shards of glass in his wrist. And when that wouldn't work, he started picking up all the glass and mixing it with like the blood and stuff to try and swallow the glass so he could like cut his throat from the inside.
That would take forever to die.
It literally, nothing was working, but now like his mouth is bleeding, his lips are bleeding, his tongue's bleeding, his throat's bleeding, his wrists are bleeding.
Now he's got something to do.
Everything's kind of bleeding, but there's nothing like arterial where his life is in danger. And so I still can't get my supervisors to support this. So I end up going to the front for some reason, front of the cell block. And I don't know if I was trying to call my sergeant or hell, maybe I had to go to the bathroom. I don't remember what it was, but I was gone for like a few minutes. And inmates do this thing called fishing.
Yeah.
So there would like sometimes literally be like lines of rope go from one cell like down to another one or back and forth like left and right. But this is how they transferred things to themselves. And while I was gone, somebody apparently fed a sheet over to him. Now, let me hit pause real quick because I got to make a gross sinus sound. All right, so we're back. Dude.
I have AIDS.
I just paused so I could do my sinus thing. Now I like literally click record and you started sneezing into my microphone. That's your microphone now.
Can I put it on layaway?
Where was I? Oh yeah, somebody fed him a sheet. Okay, now things are getting serious because he's like legitimately like tying like a noose, and he's trying to put it like up on the top of the bars, and he's like gonna put it around his neck. And so when I saw this, I thought like he could legitimately hurt himself doing this at this point. So I immediately called for a supervisor, and I started to unclip the gas off of my waistband. Now the interesting thing about the gas, we didn't have like central air, we didn't have central heat in this prison. It was a really, really old building, and everybody's watching you. One side of the room is nothing but cell block, faces of cells. Across from that is a wall of nothing but windows. And at night, everyone can look out of their cell into the window and see what's going on beneath them. And so everyone was watching to see what I was going to do. And when I opened up my gas canister, the whole place went crazy, because like whenever you implement like administer gas into one cell, everyone in the whole cell block's about to get gassed. And at that point, everyone said, "Don't do it. Don't do it, Bell. Don't do it, Officer Bell. Oh my God, don't do it." And I'm like, man, I'm about to gas this motherfucker. I'm telling you right now, dude, put the sheet down, listen to my orders, put the sheet down. Do not do it. I'm going to gas you. If you act like you're going to put that around your neck, I'm going to gas you. We're going to come in and get you, which is kind of what he wanted anyway, right?
Because you wanted to go to the medical ward.
Now the thing is, I saw you hold your nose, right, or whatever. I don't know if that was in regards to the gas or if you have a runny nose.
I'm about to sneeze.
Not only does it burn when it touches your skin and it attacks all of your sinuses, but it also has a chemical agent in there that actually sucks the oxygen out of the atmosphere.
Makes you gasp for air.
You can't even gasp. Nothing. You go to breathe, nothing happens.
Ooh.
It's literally the closest thing that I can think of that dying would feel like.
What about being crushed alive?
I think that's really fast, though, right?
Slow crush.
Like, I don't know if have you ever been underwater and tried to breathe?
Yes.
That's exactly what it feels like.
Ooh.
You go to breathe and nothing happens.
This is like so thick. It's like
it's not thick. It like legitimately takes the oxygen from the air. So whenever you go to breathe, there's no oxygen in the atmosphere to breathe in. So it blinds you. It attacks all of your sinus glands. Anything that's wet, like a mucous membrane, it attacks it, and it sucks the oxygen out of the air. It fucking is horrible.
You're making it sound kind of great.
So the inmates, when they finally found out I was going to gas this dude, they started taking all their sheets and stuffing them into the toilets. And they start flushing the toilets. All the water starts to overflow out of the toilet into their cell, out onto the walkways. And then it goes all the way to the end because there's kind of like a lip in case something is spilled. And all of it rushes down toward the picket, which is where all the controls are. And it's 3 stories of water fall, like waterfalls coming over and spilling out into the prison. And it collects so quick.
Yeah.
So at this point, we basically have like a mild riot.
That's kind of badass.
And that's what happened with that dude.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I need to go lay down. No, what's the second story?
You really want to know?
I do, but I have to blow my nose, so pause it.
All right. We'll be right back. Second story about this dude.
Yeah, Tito Ortiz.
It's kind of well, I wasn't going to say any names, and that's not his name.
I know, it's a fighter.
But God forbid one of their family members like recognizes this story and like personally sues me or something. So the same dude, man, the dude was crazy. He was totally mental. And I remember all the other inmates in the cell block hated this dude, right? And so one day I came on shift, and the guy before me was like, "Hey man, like, old boy's at it again, man. He's being crazy today and this and that. I said, well, I'll keep an eye on him. And so everything's going according to plan. Everything's fine. The sun goes down. I always work night shift, right? So I'd get there at I think 9 in the morning, and I'd work till 7, I think was my shift, 7 in the morning. So everything's cool. And then all of a sudden at midnight, it's just silent in there. Everybody's asleep. It's just silent. And out of the darkness, all you hear is, ah! Ah! And to which I reply, what in the fuck are you doing? Something like that. I don't know. And then everybody's starting to rustle around. You can hear complaining and grunts and stuff. I walk down and I'm like, dude, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? He's not talking to me. He's just walking around his cell in circles.
Acting all dramatic.
Yeah. So I go back, I sit down, 30 minutes goes by, and then all of a sudden he's yelling. He's having this conversation, and he's yelling. And everybody at this point is like, shut the fuck up. Oh my God. Officer, don't kill that motherfucker. Do something. Poison this motherfucker. Make this bitch shut up. We're trying to sleep. And so I get up, I walk down, and I'm he's walking in circles and he's talking into what appears to be an invisible walkie-talkie to Jesus about the Bloods and the Crips.
That's important. It's important Jesus work.
And I really wish I could remember the words that he was saying. But he was talking to Jesus on an imaginary walkie-talkie while walking in circles around this tiny little, their cells aren't much bigger than this area.
It's 8 by 8,
our
right?
Desk is. It's not even that. It might be 8 foot long and maybe 4 feet,
Eesh.
maybe 5. I don't know. It's barely enough for not even a twin size bed. These things, their mattresses are almost the width of this desk.
That's depressing, dude.
Yeah, which is what 18 inches or something.
If that.
So I told him, dude, I need you to stop. You're pissing everybody off. You're kind of being a dick right now. I need you to stop what you're doing. Lay down. Go to bed. Okay. So I go and I sit back down. 15, 20 minutes later, everybody's settled down. Everybody's going back to bed. I can start to hear snoring and stuff. And then I hear, ah! Here we go again. And then he's screaming into this walkie-talkie. So I walk over there. In the front of their doors, it's almost completely closed off with bars. Plus, in A-line, we had wire mesh welded onto the bars, so nobody can't reach out. And in front of his, on top of the wire mesh, about 4 inches in front of the wire mesh, we had plexiglass plate, clear glass, because he also liked to throw doo-doo on the officers and urine and stuff like that.
I've heard that's a thing.
Yeah, it's called chunking. They chunk on officers, whatever. What the?
You got an email, brother.
Okay. So he's down there screaming and starts screaming in his walkie-talkie again. I walk down there. I take out my food slot key. I put it into the little lock. I open it and I say, give it to me. Give it to me right now. I don't want to give it to you. Give it to me right now. You're pissing everybody off. So he walks over. He hands me what is this imaginary walkie-talkie. I close the food slot key. I act like I put it in my pocket. If you'll be on your best behavior for the rest of the night, I'll give it back to you before I leave in the morning.
Damn.
And then I turned around and I walked off. So he's quiet for 30 minutes and then starts screaming, banging on his bed, everything else. Everybody's pissed, whatever. So about an hour later, it's 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. They eat breakfast about this time. So I'm going around. I'm putting in the trays into the slots in the doors. When I get to him, there's really so much more to the story. But he's being really disrespectful. He's kind of being a dick. And this is me in my 20s, right? Not the reasonable...
You got a chip on your shoulder.
...old man I am today. I get to his cell. I skip it. I don't give him his food. I go to the next guy. Food. This is not right. I'm not condoning. Is it condoning what I did?
Yeah, you say condoning.
Yeah.
I'm not condoning. That's it.
Not condoning what I did, but I did do it. I deliberately didn't feed this man. And dude, they don't have anything. They don't have anything. That tray is the biggest part of their day. Getting it. They're locked up 23 hours a day. They get to go out for 1 hour and play basketball by themselves. So anyway, what I did was wrong, but it continued to escalate because when I went around and started picking up the trays after everyone ate, I was standing to the cell next to him, and his cell was kind of like where you are, catty corner. I'm getting the food here. I hear like a little knock. I don't know if the microphone picked that up. And I turn to the left, and he's standing with his face between the plexiglass and the cell, and his cheeks are full, and he goes, and just fluid hits me right in the fucking face. It gets in my eyes, my mouth, everything.
Ew.
Like he had, I'm hoping was water in his mouth.
Oh God, that's gross.
And he just like hit his cheeks like a kid would, slapped his cheeks and projected fluid from his mouth into my face. I'm fucking livid, dude. I'm livid.
No.
So
that's disgusting.
I notify supervisors. I do all this stuff. They're of course not helping me because they're just, most of them are just horrible people. Not all of them, but most of them, they're just horrible people. And honestly, they've been there too long. Like the people that I worked with, they've just been there too long, and they literally just do not give a shit. And so I'm like, man, I'm just down there pacing. Like I got to get this motherfucker right. I have to get this dude back. So I'm just pacing. All the inmates are watching again in the windows. They see me walking around. They see me pacing. They know something's on the horizon. And so I kind of walk down, and I'm like, man, I'm just going to go tell this guy, like, fuck you, right? Like, so I walk down to his cell. I look in, and he's passed out on his bunk. And I'm like, okay. I quietly turned around and walked away. I'm like, I'm just going to let him sleep, right? But it wasn't good enough for me, man. It was just fucking festering with me. I mean, and dude, a lot of these motherfuckers have like hepatitis. They have so I don't even know like I have to like go see the medical staff in the morning before I leave for work to see what to do. Like, what's the protocol for this? So finally I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. And there was this open cell, and it had been like down, and it had like water in the toilet that had probably been sitting there for like a month or two because nobody used that cell. And I took a picture that we used for the coffee that morning, and I dipped it into this toilet bowl, and I walked down to the cell, and I opened his food slot, and he kind of like, huh, what? And kind of looked up, and I hit this motherfucker right in the face with all this fucking toilet water. and 51 inmates stood up and gave me a standing ovation and started chanting my name. Really? Because they hated this motherfucker, dude. They hated this dude so much. And they can't touch him. They can't get to him. They're not allowed to be together.
Oh.
Even when we transport them.
So you punking him like that was like all of them being like, yeah, bitch.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was like everyone finally being able to get this guy.
Okay.
With all that said, this was 20 years ago, and everything that I did was wrong. But in the moment,
it was pretty awesome.
I was a hero to 51 murderers and rapists and bad check writers and whatever else the fuck they were there for.
That counts at least for 23 people.
Yeah. Anyway, that's some of my prison stories.
What about the time that you first made love to a man?
Oh, we'll save that for our next episode. All right, dude. Honestly, I'm feeling a little like trash. I've cost us a lot of time today. Do you want to say like a few things? We'll wrap this one up. If you still want to, we'll listen to that other episode. It's short. We can record an intro for it if you're still interested, and then you can call it a day.
I am interested, but I think I'm in trouble, so I gotta go. But in closing, what do I have to say about this? I was actually thinking we could do an entire series on like the Chronicles of Tommy. You're kind of like,
I mean, it's kind of what this show is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's my stories, and then your stories, and then our observations, followed by our opinions on what those observations were, right? I always looked at our podcast, not so much Fun Time Horror Show, because we're telling the stories of other people, but the banter, the things between the stories, the recaps, the intros. I always felt like that was like a very personal thing, almost like an audio diary that we were sharing with the world.
That's true.
And that's what I wanted our new show to be.
Minus the murder.
I mean, we can still talk about murders.
Moida.
But
we say Moida now.
I don't want to talk about like Moida and rapes and everything just for the sake of telling fucked up stories. Like, I'm past that in my life. Like, why are we sharing this story? Like, what's the purpose? How is this really messed up story gonna somehow enrich the lives of those that are hearing it?
It's meant for you to protect your booty.
I understand that, but protecting your booty in 2024 just isn't enough anymore, Lucas.
You have to identify as the booty.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. The booty becomes self-aware of its bootiness.
It becomes sentient.
I don't know, man. Again, this is just another brainstorm session. It's just another bullshit session. It's going to be extremely rough. I'm not going to do a lot of editing and stuff like that, but I
think there's some gold. I think those 2 prison stories are awesome.
Yeah, we'll see.
And then we'll talk about the first time you made love to a man.
One thing I would like to do is, and I might take care of this, but I want to make sure that our social media and stuff is set up correctly where...
It's a bad idea.
It's a horrible idea. No, seriously, I want to actually understand the steps that are needed to create an actual account where not only can we manage it, each of us has access to managing it, which we didn't have before, but I also want to make sure that the people that want to interact with us can freely without having to actually like join or be invited or something like that.
Or buy a box of cigars.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
And then the only other thing that I really want to do too is like just, I want to build like a Patreon community of like the true blue friends of the show where they can come and interact with each other and stuff like that too. So we have a lot to do. We have a lot on our plate, but this time around with whatever our new show is going to be, I want to make sure that it's perfect.
Yeah, I was thinking about we could call it something like Let's Sacrifice Toby.
Let's sacrifice Toby.
It's mainly because it's right there.
See? Oh, yeah. I was like, I have a poster here.
That's what I did. Yeah. I love Lamp.
Those posters are cool, man.
I love Lamp.
Yeah. Anyway, you want to say anything else, dude? I feel like I bogarted this entire show.
I think you killed it. Only thing I want to say is I'd like to put my nipple to the microphone.
Hello.
It said something. All right. I'll see y'all later.
All right, guys. We'll see y'all later.